I am not useless.
You have been called useless, but the earth does not create useless things. For your humility, for your patience, I will give you something. Each dawn, this calabash will give you one thing you truly need, but...
Useless child. The word cracked through the hot afternoon air like a whip. The entire village square of Umuozara fell silent. Dumebi froze. Her thin fingers tightened around the empty basket she carried. The other children stared. Women whispered behind their palms. An old man shook his head. It was Mama Nabluka who had spoken, the richest trader in the village, her wrappers always shining like pride itself. Every day you pass here with nothing, Mama Nabluka continued sharply. Your father died poor, your mother begs for salt. Even goats are more useful than you. Laughter scattered like dry leaves in Harmattan wind. Dumebi swallowed. She had no words left to defend herself. Hunger had already stolen her strength. Shame now took her voice. Tears burned her eyes. She turned and ran, past the mud houses, past the palm trees, past the yam barns that never belonged to her family. She ran until the sounds of mocking faded, until the only thing she could hear was her own breathing and the distant whisper of the river. The forbidden river. The elders had always warned the children about it. The river listens, they would say, the river remembers. But Dumebi did not care anymore. If the river remembered pain, then let it remember hers. She fell to her knees at the bank, her reflection trembling in the water. I am not useless, she whispered. Her voice broke. I try. I wake before sunrise. I fetch water. I farm. I carry firewood. Why is it never enough? Her tears dropped into the river. 1, 2, 3. The water rippled. The air grew still. Even the birds stopped singing. Dumebi lifted her head slowly. The river began to glow, not brightly but softly, like moonlight hidden beneath water. And then she heard it, a voice. No, loud, no, frightening but ancient. Child who cries with honest tears. Dumebi trembled. Before her, rising gently from the water, was a woman formed of flowing light and river mist. Her hair moved like currents. Her eyes were deep as the bottom of the riverbed. I am Mmuo Mmiri, the spirit said softly. Dumebi bowed her head, shaking. I did not come to offend you, great spirit. You did not offend me, the spirit replied. Your tears called me. The river spirit studied her. You have been called useless, but the earth does not create useless things. The words pierced Dumebi's heart. For your humility, for your patience, I will give you something. From the river rose a simple clay calabash, small and ordinary looking. Dumebi blinked. The spirit held it out. Each dawn, Mmuo Mmiri said, this calabash will give you one thing you truly need. Dumebi's breath caught. One thing, she asked. One, the spirit repeated firmly. The river grew slightly darker. You must never take more than one item in a single day. Dumebi nodded quickly. I won't, I promise. If you reach inside twice in one day, the gift will end. The wind moved sharply across the water. Do you understand? Yes, Dumebi whispered. One need, one blessing, one day. The spirit placed the calabash in her trembling hands. And remember, the river spirit added, her voice now distant, magic given in humility can be broken by desperation. The glow faded. The river returned to normal. The birds resumed singing. Dumebi was alone. Except for the calabash in her hands, she ran home, her heart pounding harder than before, but now with something else. Hope their hut stood at the edge of the village, its thatched roof sagging like tired shoulders. Her mother sat outside, staring at the empty cooking pot. Her little brother Chibuzo lay inside, coughing softly. Dumebi? Her mother asked weakly. Did anyone buy the firewood? Dumebi shook her head slowly. Then she remembered. It was nearly dawn. The first light of morning crept across the sky. Her hands trembled as she placed the calabash on the floor of their hut. She closed her eyes. We need food, she whispered. She reached inside. Her fingers touched something warm. She gasped and pulled it out. A full wrap of fresh fufu, steaming. Her mother's eyes widened. Dumebi reached again, but stopped. The rule. Only one. She tilted the calabash gently. Inside was a rich bowl of egusi, soup, thick with meat and vegetables. Her mother covered her mouth in shock. Dumebi, what is this? Dumebi began to cry again, but these were not tears of shame. Food, Mama. They ate that morning like a family restored. Chibuzo even smiled between bites. For the first time in months, the cooking pot was not empty, and that was only the beginning. If this story is already touching your heart, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment one blessing is enough if you believe patience brings miracles. Your support helps these powerful African folktales reach more hearts around the world. The next morning, Dumebi woke before sunrise again. This time, she whispered, "We need money for our debt." She reached inside once. Silver coins filled her palm. The day after, cloth for her mother. The next, medicine for Chibuzo's cough. Always one, never two, slowly. Their lives began to change. But the village was watching, and blessings, no matter how humble, do not stay hidden forever. At first, the village thought it was coincidence. Poor families sometimes found small luck. A kind traveler, a forgotten debt repaid, but weeks passed, and Dumebi's family no longer looked like hunger lived in their hut. Her mother's wrapper, once faded and torn, was now clean and bright. Smoke rose daily from their cooking fire. Chibuzo's cough had almost disappeared. People began to whisper. "I saw meat in their soup," one woman murmured at the stream. "Meat," another scoffed. "From where?" Even Mama Loka noticed. One afternoon, as Dumebi passed the market with a basket of neatly arranged vegetables they had never been able to afford before, Mama Aindablaka blocked her path. "Where is your mother getting money?" she demanded. Dumebi lowered her eyes respectfully. "We are managing, Mama, managing." Mama Nuka's voice sharpened. "With what air?" The other traders leaned closer. Dumebi felt her chest tighten. She wanted to speak, she wanted to defend herself, but she remembered the river spirit's words, magic given in humility. So she bowed slightly and walked away. That night she knelt beside the calabash again. "We need peace," she whispered. She reached inside once. Her fingers touched palm oil and dried fish, enough to cook a meal to share. She smiled softly. The rule had never failed her. One need, one blessing, one day. But temptation does not begin loudly. It begins as a whisper. One evening, Chibuzo sat beside her outside their hut. "Sister," he said quietly, "do you think the river spirit likes us?" Dumebi smiled faintly. "Why do you ask?" "Because if she does, maybe she can make us rich, like Mama Nablaka." Dumebi's heart skipped. Rich, the word lingered in the air. She shook her head gently. "We have enough." "But imagine," Chibuzo insisted innocently, "if we had a big house, or many goats, or land." That night, as Dumebi lay awake, the thought returned. What if she asked for more? No, by breaking the rule, just asking for something bigger. The next morning, she knelt before the calabash. "We need a goat," she whispered carefully. She reached inside. Her hand felt fur. She gasped and pulled out a small, healthy white goat. Her mother cried in joy. "A goat," she exclaimed. "We can sell its milk." Dumebi felt warmth fill her chest. The calabash did not only provide small needs, it understood still. She had taken only one. The rule remained unbroken. Days passed. Their goat produced milk. They sold some and kept some. They paid off small debts. Even the village elder nodded respectfully when passing their hut. And yet suspicion grew sharper. One evening Mama Noka stood outside her compound watching Dumebi's home. "She hides something," she muttered. "Jealousy is a seed that grows quickly in dry soil." Then Harmattan came. The air turned dusty. The nights colder, and sickness returned to the village. Children began coughing. Old men shivered with fever. Herbalists worked day and night. One afternoon Dumebi returned from fetching water and heard it, her mother's panicked voice. "Dumebi, come quickly." Chibuzo lay on the mat, his small body shaking violently. His breathing was fast, his skin burned with fever. Dumebi dropped the water pot. "No, no, no." The memory of his earlier cough flashed in her mind. Had it truly healed, or had it only been resting? The herbalist says the medicine is rare, her mother cried. It will cost more than we have. Dumebi's heart pounded. That night felt heavier than any before. She placed the calabash before her. The moonlight slipped through the cracks of the hut roof. Her hands trembled. "We need medicine," she whispered desperately. She reached inside once. A small wrapped bundle of herbs rested in her palm. Glowing faintly, tears filled her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. They gave Chibuzo the medicine, but his fever did not break. It worsened. By morning, his breathing was shallow. The herbalist returned, shaking his head. "He needs stronger medicine from the next village," he said gravely. "And my fee." Her mother collapsed into tears. "Where will we get the money?" Silence filled the hut. Dumebi stared at the calabash. One need, one blessing, one day. But today there were two needs. Medicine, money. Her chest tightened painfully. If she waited until tomorrow for money, would Chibuzo survive the night? Her brother groaned weakly. She felt something crack inside her. Not greed, fear, raw, terrifying fear. She lifted the calabash slowly. Her hand shook so violently, she nearly dropped it. "I already took the medicine," she whispered to herself. The spirit's voice echoed in memory. "Never to, never to, never to." Tears blurred her vision. "Please forgive me," she breathed. She reached inside. Again, her fingers brushed against cold metal coins. For a second, hope flared, and then a sharp sound split the air. Crack! The calabash fractured in her hands. A blinding flash of light burst from it. Wind roared through the hut. Her mother screamed. The ground trembled. Outside, the river thundered violently. Water surged beyond its banks. The calabash shattered completely, pieces falling like broken promises onto the floor. The glowing coins dissolved into dust. The herbs turned to ash, and the hut door burst open as water rushed through the village paths. The river was flooding. The gift was gone, and the consequences had begun. The night the calabash shattered, Umuozara did not sleep. The river roared like a wounded beast. Water burst through narrow pathways, swallowing gardens, knocking over clay pots, dragging firewood and baskets into the darkness. Men shouted, women grabbed their children, goats bleated in terror. And at the center of it all, Dumebi stood frozen in her family's hut, the broken pieces of the calabash at her feet. "I broke it," she whispered. Her mother clutched Chibuzo tightly as water seeped across the mud floor. "What have you done?" Her mother cried in fear, not accusation but desperation. Dumebi fell to her knees. "I reached inside twice," she sobbed. "I needed money for the healer, I thought if I did it quickly." The hut shook as another wave of water crashed outside. There was no time for tears. "Help me carry him," her mother shouted. They lifted Chibuzo between them and pushed their way into the chaos. Rain began to pour, mixing with the overflowing river. Lightning split the sky. Dumebi looked toward the riverbank. For a brief second, just one, she thought she saw a faint glow within the raging water. No angry, no cruel, just distant. And then it vanished. By dawn, the flooding had slowed. But damage remained everywhere. Yam barns had collapsed. Chickens were missing. 2 huts near the riverbank had been destroyed. Villagers gathered in the square, soaked and shaken. "This has never happened before," an elder muttered. "The river had been angered," another whispered. Mama Naka stood among them, her expensive wrappers now soaked with mud. "This is someone's fault," she declared loudly. "Spirits do not act without cause." Her sharp eyes scanned the crowd. They stopped on Dumebi. Dumebi's heart dropped. People began murmuring. Her family suddenly had food. They paid debts. They bought a goat. Suspicion turned like a blade. Mama Maka stepped forward. "You," she pointed. "What did you do?" Dumebi's throat tightened. Her brother coughed weakly in her mother's arms. She could lie. She could stay silent. But humility had called the river spirit the first time, so she spoke the truth. "I was given a gift," she said softly. The crowd gasped. A calabash, silent, swallowed the square. It gave us one thing each day that we truly needed. But there was a rule, her voice broke. Only one, never two. And you broke it? An elder asked sternly. Tears streamed down her face. Yes, the word felt heavier than stone. A woman hissed in disapproval. A man shook his head angrily. You brought this disaster on us. My crops are gone because of you. My roof collapsed. The accusations struck harder than Mama Nwaka's earlier insult. Useless. The word returned in her mind. Maybe they were right. Maybe she had been selfish. Maybe desperation was no excuse. She dropped to her knees in the muddy square. I am sorry, she cried. Punish me if you must, but please, my brother is dying. The crowd fell quiet at that. Chibuzo's breathing was faint now, his small body limp. Even Mama Nwaka's anger softened slightly. The village elder stepped forward slowly. His beard dripped with rainwater. We can argue about blame later, he said firmly. A child's life is before us. He turned to the men. Bring dry cloth, start a fire. To the women, prepare herbs. Send someone to the next village for the stronger medicine. There was hesitation, then movement. No, because of magic, no, because of wealth. But because a child was dying. Mama Nwaka crossed her arms tightly, watching, but even she did not walk away. Hours passed. The rain stopped completely. Villagers worked together repairing broken walls and clearing mud. A small fire burned beside Dumebi's hut. The healer from the next village arrived by late afternoon. The stronger medicine was prepared. Dumebi sat beside Chibuzo, holding his tiny hand. I'm sorry, she whispered repeatedly. Her mother's eyes were swollen from crying. As the sun began to set, Chibuzo's breathing slowed, then steadied, then his fever began to drop. The healer nodded slowly. He will live. Dumebi collapsed into tears of relief. Her mother embraced her tightly. Around them, villagers exhaled collectively. No celebration, but release. The elder looked at Dumebi thoughtfully. The river punished disobedience, he said calmly. But perhaps it also revealed something else. Dumebi lifted her head. What, Papa? That we have forgotten how to care for one another without miracles. The words settled deeply. Mama Nwaka shifted uncomfortably. For weeks, the village had watched this poor girl's family rise, and instead of offering help, they offered suspicion. Instead of kindness, mockery. The elder turned to the crowd. If a child must depend on spirits before her own people help her, then we have failed as a community. Silence again, but this time it was not judgment, it was reflection. Mama Nwaka stepped forward slowly. Her pride battled with something inside her. Finally she cleared her throat. I have extra yams, she muttered stiffly. They can take some. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Another woman added, I have dried fish. A man said, I can repair their roof tomorrow. The shift was subtle, but powerful. The magic of the calabash had ended. Yet something else was beginning. Dumebi looked toward the river once more. The water now flowed calmly, as if nothing had happened. No glow, no voice, just steady movement. She understood. The spirit had given her a gift, but breaking the rule had awakened something greater than fear. It had awakened unity. But deep inside Dumebi's heart, one question remained. Had she truly lost everything? Or had the river simply changed the kind of miracle it wanted to give? The days after the flood were quiet. No, the heavy silence of fear, but the thoughtful silence of people who had seen something they could not easily explain. Dumebi woke before dawn the next morning out of habit. For a brief second she forgot. She reached beside her sleeping mat. There was no calabash, only empty floor. Her chest tightened. Then she remembered. It was over. The magic had ended the moment she reached inside twice. She stepped outside. The village looked different. Mud still marked the ground, but men were already rebuilding fences. Women swept debris from their compounds. Children gathered scattered firewood. And something else was different. When people saw her, they did not whisper. They nodded. Some even greeted her kindly. Mama Nwaka approached slowly, holding a small basket. Dumebi's stomach tightened. But Mama Nwaka did not insult her this time. She cleared her throat. "These are yams," she said stiffly. "Good ones." Dumebi blinked in surprise. "For us." Mama Nuka looked away. "The flood damaged part of my storehouse. I have more than I need." It was not an apology, but it was something. "Thank you, Mama," Dumebi said softly. Mama Ndwaka hesitated. Then she added, quieter this time, "You were not useless." The words hung in the morning air. Dumebi felt tears gather again. No painful tears, healing ones. Chibuzo recovered steadily. Within days he was sitting up. Within a week he was walking again. The stronger medicine the villagers paid for had saved him. No magic people. That realization stayed with Dumebi. The Calabash had provided one need at a time, but the village, when united, provided more than she ever imagined. Roof repairs were completed quickly. Their goat was returned after being found near the riverbank. Woman visited with food without being asked. Men helped her mother rebuild their small farm plot. For the first time in her life, Dumebi did not feel invisible. One evening she returned alone to the riverbank, the same place where she had cried weeks ago. The water flowed peacefully, reflecting the orange sunset. She knelt again, but this time she did not cry from shame. She spoke calmly. "Great Spirit, I broke your rule." The river moved gently. "I thought I was acting out of love," she continued, "but maybe I acted out of fear." The breeze carried her words across the water. "I wanted to save my brother. I did not want to lose him." Silence answered her. Then a small ripple formed near the center of the river. No glowing, no rising, just present. Dumebi watched quietly. No voice came, no spirit appeared, but deep in her heart she understood something. The gift had never truly been about wealth. It had been about trust, trust in patience, trust in limits, trust in community. She bowed her head one final time. "Thank you," she whispered, and this time she meant it differently. Seasons changed. The flood became a story told during moonlit nights. Children gathered to hear how the river once rose in anger. But the story slowly shifted. It was no longer about punishment. It became the story of the girl who was called useless, and how the village learned its own lesson. Mama Netra began greeting Dumebi warmly at the market. The elder often asked for her help during gatherings, saying, "This child understands humility." And whenever someone mocked another for being poor, someone else would say quietly, "Be careful, the river listens." Dumebi grew stronger. No rich, no powerful, but respected. One afternoon, a young girl ran crying through the village square after being insulted by older boys. Dumebi saw herself in that child. She followed her gently. The girl stopped near the path leading to the river. "Don't go there alone," Dumebi said softly. The girl sniffed. "They said I am useless." Dumebi knelt to meet her eyes. "Do you believe them?" The girl shook her head slowly. "Good," Dumebi replied, "because the earth does not create useless things." The same words the spirit had once spoken to her. And in that moment Dumebi realized something powerful. The calabash had shattered, but the lesson had not. The miracle had changed form. Instead of food appearing from clay, compassion appeared from people. Instead of coins filling her palm, hands filled with help reached toward her. Instead of magic controlling her future, wisdom guided it, and that miracle was stronger. Years later, when children asked her if she ever wished for the calabash to return, she would smile gently. If it had not broken, she would say, we might never have learned to care for one another, because sometimes the greatest blessing is not the one that appears in your hand, it is the one that awakens in your heart. Moral lessons of the story are, greed, even when born from fear, can destroy what patience builds. Rules exist not to limit us, but to protect us. True, wealth is not magic or money, it is community, and no human being is useless. If this story touched you, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs encouragement today. And now I want to ask you something. If you were Dumebi and your loved one was dying, would you have broken the rule too? Or would you have waited? Comment below. Let's talk about it. Because sometimes the hardest choices reveal who we truly are. Until the next story, remember, one blessing, one day, and a heart that chooses wisely.